What's going on, Wiz Nation? This is your main man, K Jose, and welcome to another episode of DC Hoopla. Before I even get started, you can follow me on Twitter at DC Hoopla. You can follow me on IG under the same name, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe this video. So let's get into it. The Washington Wizards are now 1-2. They lost last night to the Boston Celtics, 126 to 107. And it was not a good performance for the home team. We actually got outscored in the fourth quarter 32 to 18. And for the second game in a row, well, I won't say second game in a row, but we would say for the second game, Wes Unseld has thrown in the towel in the fourth quarter where there was still more than enough time left for the team to be competitive. The first time happened against the Pacers. We lost them 143 to 120 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Wes Unseld threw in the towel and started putting the bench out there. So he does it again last night against the Celtics. Now, most people are going to say, well, hey, it was no way in the world we was going to beat the Celtics. We had nothing coming. That's absolutely true, but don't make it so obvious. The key is that we want to see a competitive basketball team, and we know that the losses are going to amount. But to pull out your starters in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left, that means you're conceding defeat. So right now, when you look at these games, it seems as the team already understands that they're clearly at a disadvantage before tip-off. But we were told that we were going to be expecting some competitive basketball. For me, with the rebuild, I said it doesn't matter when it comes down to wins or losses. I just want to see improvement and growth. And when you do that, I'm not seeing any type of improvement and growth. I'm seeing some of the same behaviors that we've seen the last several years. Now, I will say this during the win now era, Wes wasn't doing this. He should have a few times, but he wasn't. But during this particular rebuild era, Wes is looking at it like, hey, if it's a certain amount of games left, if we're down by 20, if we're down by 15, I'm going to go ahead and pull the guys out. So let's look at what the Wizards did last night, what the players did. Kuzma led all scorers for the Wizards with 21 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists. He was 9 for 15 from the field, 3 for 6 from downtown. Jordan Poole played 25 minutes. He had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, shot 5 for 11 from the field, but he shot 1 for 5 from the three-point range. So with Kuzma and Poole having a green light, we're going to see these guys chucking up a lot of shots. I know Poole actually got a little bit of heat because in one play, he dribbles the ball down the court. He has Porzingis on him. So he's faking as he's going to drive to the basket, but then he turns around, is kind of dribbling, walking behind. Then he goes behind the 3-point line, pulls up for a 3, but Porzingis ends up blocking the shot. So a lot of fans are upset because they're looking at some of the immaturity from Jordan Poole. Now, here's the thing. We saw a lot of immaturity before from the previous regime, from the previous core. But those guys who were doing that were veterans. So now you have a young vet who's under 25 years old doing this, and fans are expecting Wes Unseld to step in and be a disciplinarian. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I had to remind you, if you remember, in the 2021-2022 season, which was the season that Dinwiddie was here, before Dinwiddie got traded, there was a report that went out from a Wizards newscaster, I want to say. I can't remember who it was that put this out, but they said that the prisoners are controlling the asylum. And this is when we had veteran players on the team. We all remember Denny and Davis Bertans getting into it. We all remember KCP, Montrezl Harrell having a fist fight. We've all heard those things. So my point is that if Wes wasn't able to control that situation, what makes us think he's going to be able to control Jordan Poole? Now, I know people will say, well, he's the coach. He should. But that's not Wes's job. I've always felt that Wes Unseld just doesn't have the balls to tell veteran players who are making more money than him hey, look, I'm the coach. What I say goes. Now, Wes is very good at the young guys who are on rookie deals to tell them that because their annual income kind of matches his annual income. So he looks at it like if you're under 25 years old, if you're 19 years old, you'll listen to me a little bit more. But if you're out here making way more money, you're probably not going to listen to me and you're going to feel entitled, especially if you know you can go to the general manager and tell the general manager, hey, this coach is being, let's call it what it is, an asshole to me. What are you going to do about it? So next up, we play against the Atlanta Hawks, and we're actually playing in Atlanta. So we play them tomorrow. I said that game can go either way. However, would I be upset if we lose that game? No, because once again, I said it's not all about wins and losses. It's about seeing some improvement. But that's what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow. Is I'm going to be looking for adjustments that Wes is going to realize when a particular lineup is not working. He's going to make the proper adjustments to put the players in position that makes sense to make it work. One of the things that I'm starting to see when I am watching the games is DeLon Wright. I'm seeing him doing ISO plays. DeLon Wright was never known to do this. So I don't know if this is some choice by his or if this is something by Wes, but to see DeLon Wright doing ISO plays, that's an issue with me. And we do have a bunch of players on here, and maybe DeLon Wright is one of those guys that's probably thinking, hey, I'm going to just go out there and play until it's my time to get traded. We do have a bunch of guys on this team that know that the clock is ticking. That some of these guys know that, hey, eventually at some point, I'm not going to be here. So in the meantime, I'm going to just go out here and I'm going to do me. So I'm going to talk about the idea of the rebuild. Because as on Wizards Twitter, you have people who are team rebuild, and then you have some that's kind of teetering a little bit, and then you have some who are anti-rebuild. Now, the rebuild had to happen. The direction we were going in the last 4 to 5 years was just stupid. The moment we traded John Wall, we should have already went ahead and decided, let's go through a rebuild. But we didn't. The idea was, well, let's build a team around Bradley Beal. Well, we tried that, and we had a losing record each time. And the people who want to point to the year that we went to the playoffs with Russ, let's keep in mind that was a condensed season. We only played 72 games that year. And we went to the play-ins with a 34-38 record. And then we had a gentleman's sweep against who? The 76ers, where you had Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid doing whatever they want to do. And Russ actually laid an egg, as he always does in the first round of the playoffs. At that moment, Bradley Beal was third all NBA, and he was second in scoring. That's when we should have maximized his value and traded on past him, but we didn't. So now Ted is realizing, and he said it on multiple occasions because he had actually did a post at the home game, at the first home opener, that he feels like he failed the fans the last 4 to 5 years. Ted is absolutely right. He has failed the fans the last 4 to 5 years. He said he wished he had saw it sooner. I'm paraphrasing that part. So when we talk about the rebuild, it's not going to be pretty. We're going to lose a lot of games, more than we're going to win. And the plan is to get young players, figure out which one of these players are going to be foundational pieces, develop them into being either superstars or all-stars, and go from there and then compete for a championship. No more the days of just handing out hefty contracts to mid-level players and just strive for the play-ins and the playoffs. And if you happen to, overachieve, then so be it. But the idea all the time, the last few years, was play-ins. If that's your plan, the season is already lost. So these players now that we have, they understand that we're not going to win that many games. But some of them want to go out there and compete. And some of them are going to want to cash a check. So those players who are here just to get a check, eventually they won't be here. We have a front office that knows what they're doing. You have some guys out there who are anti-rebuild. that says, you know what we had last season wasn't that bad. This is what you guys wanted. You're losing these games. We're going to stink. The rebuild is going to last 10 years, this, that, and the third. Now, Ted said that it may take 3, it may take 4 or 5 years for this rebuild. That's the same thing Wenger said when he took on the job before he hired Dawkins. It may take 3, it may take 4. He didn't put a set timetable on it. So it's up for us to actually buy into the rebuild. You either built for it or you're not. And there's some fans who are not built for it. And there's some fans who are built for it. I'm built for it. I've seen way worse Wizards teams in my lifetime. I remember watching Bullets teams that had Larry Stewart, Mitchell Butler, Purvis Ellison, over the hill, rest in peace, Kevin Duckworth, Kenny Skywalker. I mean, I've seen some terrible teams. Doug Overton, like some horrible teams that some teams will win under 20 games. Some people think that that's where we're going to be. I've said 25 to 32 wins because if you have a record of 19 to 62, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the number 1 pick. They've changed the format of the lottery. So I'm built for the rebuild. And I'm positive that this front office, because it's a different front office, they understand what it takes for this team to be successful. You know, Will Dawkins was with the Thunder when they were the Seattle Supersonics. So I look at it like he was a part of some of the rebuilds that they've done over there in OKC. Wenger, at one point in time, he was there at OKC, and he was there with the Clippers. So he knows what it takes. We got Schlink. Schlink at one point in time was with Golden State. Wenger was actually with Golden State at one point too. I want to say he was with Golden State during the time Steph Curry was like either in his 3rd year in the league. But my point is that as fans, we have to buy into what this team is trying to do. We have to buy into what this front office is trying to do. We need to allow them the bandwidth to rebuild. And again, we're going to lose a lot of games. It's not going to look pretty. You know, what can you do against the Celtics when you got Jaylen Brown and you got Jason Tatum, both of those guys putting up 30 plus points apiece? I mean, they both had 30 plus points apiece in last night's game. So these two guys are all-stars. They're also 2 max players on a very good Celtics team. And you got Porzingis, who goes along with those guys. We didn't really have an answer for those guys. And we're going to play against teams. They're going to just have players that we're just not going to have an answer for. So I'm going to conclude this episode of DC Hoopla. And I'm going to tell you guys to, again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for future episodes of State of the Wizards. Those will be coming soon with my main man, Decan. And you guys have a good one.